Here stood Avery Collins Hale, 35 years old, frozen at the center of the Westin Crown Center Grand Ballroom, while 250 guests lifted their glasses to celebrate the new chief executive officer. My sister Lauren Hale had just finished her victory speech, smiling with the certainty of someone who believed the battle was already over. Then, she leaned toward the microphone and spoke clearly, deliberately loud enough for every phone camera in the room to capture it. "You are relieved of your duties, effective immediately. Security will escort you out." 250 heads snapped in my direction at once. Champagne paused halfway to waiting lips. A sharp breath cut through the room. Someone gasped. I did not move. I did not blink. I reached for the guest badge pinned to my black dress, unclipped it slowly, and placed it with care on the rim of my untouched champagne flute. The glass trembled slightly, then went still. Only then did I lift my eyes to Lauren. My voice was calm, steady, almost polite. "Tell our parents the board convenes in 3 hours." I turned on my heel and walked away, my steps echoing across the marble floor as camera flashes burst behind me like lightning at a scandal. When the ballroom doors closed, the sound was soft, but everything after that moment had already begun to collapse. I turned on my heel and crossed the marble floor, my steps sharp and controlled, camera flashes bursting behind me like a scandal unfolding in real time. The double doors closed with a muted thud. If you have ever been publicly humiliated by your own sister at her celebration, you know the hollow drop that hits your stomach. It is heat and nausea and disbelief all at once. If you carry a family story that still makes your blood boil, you understand exactly what that moment feels like. Ask yourself this. What is the worst thing a sibling has ever done to you in front of a crowd? What happened next would eclipse every story I had ever heard. When the doors shut behind me, the real countdown began. I slid into the driver's seat of my black SUV, the engine coming to life before the echoes from the ballroom had even faded. The distance to Summit Ridge was 28 miles. On a clear night, it took 32 minutes. More than enough time. I kept the radio off. The only sound was rubber against asphalt and the soft click of the turn signal as I merged onto the interstate. By the time I pulled into the garage, the house was dark. Only the motion light above the workbench flickered on. I did not bother going inside. I opened the laptop I had left charging there since 6 that morning. Face recognition unlocked the screen. I opened the folder labeled Continuity. Everything was already prepared. The encrypted email addressed to every board member and registered shareholder. The certified courier packets already labeled and approved. The digital signature time stamped at 6:03 that morning. All that remained was execution. One click sent the emails. One click confirmed the courier pickup scheduled in 14 minutes. Finished. People like to believe majority ownership happens overnight. It never does. It begins with a single half-page agreement when you are 19 years old and too stubborn to accept a salary like everyone else. Back in 2009, Hale Logistics Group was still a 20-person operation, running out of a drafty warehouse on the edge of Kansas City. My father offered me a director title and $180,000 a year. I declined without hesitation and told him I wanted equity instead. He laughed, slid 8% across the table, and told me I could own the dirt beneath the building if that made me happy. I never sold a single share. When the Midwest cold chain expansion broke ground years later, I took another 4% in place of a bonus. While others celebrated short-term wins, I kept choosing permanence. Then came the near disaster. My sister Lauren almost signed the company into a partnership that would have bled $42 million and buried us in lawsuits. I did not raise my voice. I did not confront her publicly. I went to the board and persuaded them to add a single clause buried deep in the bylaws. Section 14C. They called it paranoia. I called it insurance. A few years later, a refrigerated technology startup out of California we acquired offered me 12% in exchange for structuring the deal and absorbing the risk. I accepted without ceremony. When my parents later wanted liquidity to remodel their lake house, I bought their golden shares at full market value. No discounts, no favors. They believed they were helping me. They were not. Piece by piece, contract by contract, decision by decision. I kept stacking ownership until the ledger showed 71% under my name alone. No announcement was ever made. No plaque was hung on an office door. The truth lived quietly inside, state filings sealed and absolute. I closed the laptop, leaned back against the headrest, and finally released the breath I had been holding since my sister opened her mouth at that podium. Across the city, my younger brother Evan was live streaming from the ballroom, his phone angled to capture crystal chandeliers glittering behind him. I could picture the grin on his face without looking. His caption was already written: "A new era begins, family business. Next generation." The reactions poured in. He had no idea the era he was celebrating had exactly 3 hours left. In the VIP section, the first phone vibrated. Charles Whitman, the silver-haired attorney who had drafted every major contract for Hale Logistics Group since it was 3 men and a warehouse decades ago, felt the buzz against his chest as he lifted a forkful of grilled salmon. One glance at the screen drained the color from his face. He stood so abruptly that his chair scraped across the marble, the sound sharp enough to slice through the string quartet. Without a word of apology, he grabbed my father by the elbow with one hand and my mother by the wrist with the other, guiding them firmly through the nearest service door. The narrow backstage corridor smelled of overheated catering trays and fresh-cut flowers. Charles Whitman swiped a keycard he was never meant to have locked the door behind them, and placed his phone into my father's hands as if it were something volatile. My father took it with both hands, his thumbs turning pale at the edges. He read the first page, once blinked hard, then read it again. His eyes stopped on the only paragraph that mattered. Section 14, C. The Emergency Continuity Clause. Drafted and executed years earlier after my sister Lauren had nearly signed a West Coast distribution agreement that would have drained $42 million and buried the company under years of litigation. The board had laughed when it was introduced. They had called me paranoid. My father had signed the amendment while half watching a football game on the office television. He had never read beyond the title. Now he read every word. His lips moved, but no sound came out. When he reached the line, stating that any unilateral termination of an executive by a non-equity appointee immediately suspended all authority and transferred control back to the majority shareholder, the air left his body in a single, slow collapse. His shoulders sagged forward as if invisible strings had been cut. My mother leaned closer, her hand gripping his arm. When she saw my electronic signature at the bottom of the document, the tears began before she reached the end of the second sentence. There was no wailing, no spectacle, just silent, relentless streams carving dark tracks down her cheeks. She pressed a white linen napkin to her mouth to stifle the small fractured sounds escaping her chest. Charles kept his voice barely above a breath. "Rick, this is live. The timestamp is 6:03 this morning. Every board member and every registered shareholder has already received the same packet. We are inside the 3-hour window. There is no pause." My father looked up slowly, his eyes glassy, unfocused as the weight of it finally settled in. "She does not know yet." "Not yet," Charles confirmed. "She is still cutting the cake." Out in the ballroom, Lauren was laughing at something the host whispered to her, guiding a silver knife through 4 tiers of champagne-soaked vanilla as camera flashes cracked like lightning. She lifted a flawless slice, held it up to the crowd, and smiled with the confidence of someone who believed the night belonged to her. She looked like the queen of everything she was about to lose. My mother's voice broke through her tears. "Rick, bring her in here. We stop this before it goes any further." My father was already reaching for the door handle, his knuckles drained of color. As my mother pressed her crumpled napkin to her eyes one last time, the door burst open. Lauren entered the cramped backstage room first. My younger brother Evan followed immediately behind her, both of them still glowing from the applause and spotlights that had chased them off the main floor. The door slammed shut behind my father with enough force to rattle the framed supplier awards lining the wall. The smile my sister had worn all evening did not fade, it did not even tremble. "What exactly is this about?" she asked, smoothing an imaginary crease from her white blazer as if a red carpet interview were waiting just outside the door. "Did Avery throw one of her dramatic episodes and come crying to you again?" Evan scoffed, his thumbs already flying across his phone screen. "Typical. She always needed attention when things did not go her way." My father said nothing. He did not argue. He did not explain. He simply rotated the tablet on the small conference table and slid it across the polished surface until the screen faced them. The latest official Connecticut filing filled the display. An ownership breakdown stamped and certified that very morning. Final. Notarized. Impossible to challenge. 71% sat in bold beneath a single name, Avery Collins Hale. Lauren's eyes locked onto the number. Her perfectly shaped red lips parted, but no sound followed. The confidence drained from her face slowly, like color bleeding out of a photograph, leaving only shock behind. Evan leaned over her shoulder, expecting a glitch, a prank, some clerical mistake. When the same figure stared back at him, his smirk vanished instantly, as if someone had flipped a switch. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out but a thin wheeze. Lauren finally found her voice. It came out sharp and brittle. This has to be fake. Some cheap trick. She cannot possibly own that much. It is not real. Charles Whitman cut in, his tone flat and precise. The same voice he used in depositions. State stamped at 8:47 this morning. You activated the exact clause she drafted the day you attempted to sign that West Coast deal that would have cost $42 million. Lauren's manicured fingers yanked her phone from the crystal clutch. Her thumb stabbed at my contact. Straight to voicemail. She tried again, harder this time. The same cold, automated greeting answered. She had been blocked since sunrise. The realization struck her like a slap. This is insane, she hissed, spinning toward my father so fast her blazer flared. You let her do this. You let her hide it from all of us. My father's face hardened into stone. His jaw locked. His eyes did not waver. I signed what was placed in front of me every quarter, the same way you did. Without reading past the first paragraph, Evan finally found his voice. It cracked thin and panicked, like a teenager backed into a corner. We can still fix this. Call an emergency attorney. File for an injunction. His words hung in the air, desperate and weightless, already too late. Anything. Charles Whitman shook his head once, slow and absolute. You have less than 3 hours before the mandatory meeting is called. After that, the vote is binding under majority control. No court in Connecticut moves faster than 71%. Lauren's breathing turned shallow and rapid. Her eyes darted from the tablet to my mother's tear-stained cheeks, then to my father's clenched fists. She searched every face in the room for an ally, a crack, a way out. There was nothing. The room seemed to close in on her with every frantic glance. She tried one last time. Her voice fractured completely. She would never destroy her own family over petty revenge. My father met her stare without blinking. You destroyed any chance of mercy the moment you humiliated her in front of 250 people who used to work for her. Silence swallowed what little air remained in the room. Lauren stood motionless, staring at the glowing screen as the truth settled into her chest like ice water. Evan kept refreshing his phone, his thumb shaking, waiting for a miracle that was never coming. While Lauren remained frozen in place, every board member's phone vibrated at the same time. The first was Harold Weinstein, the board chairman. His fork hovered halfway to his mouth when the screen lit up with an encrypted attachment and a subject line announcing an emergency shareholder meeting under Section 14C. Harold's jaw tightened. He set the fork down, pushed back his chair, and walked straight to the head of the security station near the east exit. One sentence, low, controlled. Lock the room. No one leaves. Within 15 seconds, every other board member's device followed. Margaret Klein opened hers, her eyes widening behind her reading glasses. Paul Delgado muttered a curse under his breath. Phones began rising throughout the ballroom like dark mirrors reflecting the chandelier light. The jazz quartet struck a wrong note and stopped playing altogether. Security moved immediately. 6 additional guards in black suits appeared at the 4 main exits and both service doors. Arms crossed, feet planted, polite smiles that dared anyone to test them. Near the coat check, a venture capitalist made a hesitant move toward the lobby. He did not get far. A guard stepped sideways and blocked the path without a word. Another guest phone, already pressed to his ear, tried the west corridor and met the same wall of muscle. The message was instant and unmistakable. The celebration was finished. On stage, the host, a local news anchor hired for the evening, sensed the shift ripple through the room. He gently took the microphone from a confused server who had been moments away from announcing dessert. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice steady but louder than necessary, "please remain seated. We will have a brief, unscheduled announcement from the majority shareholder shortly. Thank you for your patience." The house lights dimmed another notch. The string lights above the cake table stayed bright, making the four-tier champagne-soaked masterpiece look suddenly absurd. Lauren rushed back out from the private corridor, her cheeks flushed, her hair slightly out of place for the first time all night. She gripped the microphone stand with both hands to steady herself, her knuckles drained of color. "Everything is perfectly fine," she announced, the words tumbling over one another. "This is only a minor administrative update. Please remain calm and enjoy the rest of the evening." Her right hand shook so violently the microphone shrieked with feedback. A thin ripple of nervous laughter drifted up from one table, then died immediately. No one believed her anymore. At the edge of the stage, Evan appeared, forcing a casual posture as he slid along the velvet wall toward the service exit. His phone was pressed tight to his ear, his lips moving rapidly, his eyes darting. He managed 3 steps. A guard materialized in front of him, shook his head once and pointed back toward the ballroom floor. Evan froze, trapped between the guard and 200 watching faces. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees in less than a minute. Champagne went flat in untouched glasses. The waitstaff stood frozen mid-step, silver trays of petite desserts suspended in the air. Phones continued to light up across the ballroom, with the same document, the same ownership table, the same name printed in bold at the very top. A woman at table 6 gasped loud enough for half the room to hear. Her husband tilted his screen toward her so she could read it herself. The sound spread outward like a shockwave. Someone whispered, 71%. The number traveled faster than the document ever could. Lauren tried again. She forced a smile that looked painted on by an unsteady hand. "Really, everyone, there is absolutely nothing to worry about. We will return to celebrating in just a moment. Please remain seated." Her voice fractured on the final word. The microphone shrieked again. No one applauded. No one cheered. The jazz quartet remained silent, instruments resting on their knees, eyes lowered. The host returned to the stage and gently but firmly took the microphone from Lauren's trembling fingers. "Once again, please remain in your seats. The majority shareholder is present and will address the room directly within the next few minutes." Lauren's grip failed completely. The microphone stand wobbled, nearly tipping over. Evan stood, pinned against the wall, his face drained of color beneath the golden glow of the chandeliers. His phone hung uselessly at his side. As the stage lights dimmed further in preparation for what came next, the main doors swung open. I walked straight down the center aisle in a simple black sheath dress, a laptop tucked beneath one arm. My heels made no sound on the thick carpet runner. The room held its breath. There was no entourage. No dramatic entrance music. No security walking at my side. Only the soft click of the double doors closing behind me, and the sudden hush that swallowed every clink of glass and murmur of conversation. 250 faces followed my movement, as if I were the only thing still alive in the room. I stepped onto the low stage, placed my laptop on the podium Lauren had abandoned minutes earlier, and opened it. The 60-foot screen behind me flared to life. The secure voting portal appeared instantly, a system I had personally coded and stress-tested over 3 sleepless nights years earlier. The interface was simple, unforgiving, and unbreakable. "Good evening," I said into the microphone, my voice carrying without effort. "My name is Avery Collins Hale. Under Section 14C of the Shareholder Agreement, I am calling an emergency shareholder meeting effective immediately. Every registered voter in this room should already have access on their devices." A wave of phones rose across the ballroom like a dark tide. Fingers began to move. Harold Weinstein, chairman of the board for more than a decade, stood from the front row without hesitation. He climbed the side steps, took his place beside me, and adjusted his glasses. He had seen the packet earlier. He already knew how this would end. "Motion on the floor," Harold announced, his voice measured and formal. "Immediate rescission of the appointments of Lauren Hale as Chief Executive Officer and Evan Hale as Vice President of Sales. The majority shareholder has proposed." "Is there a second?" Margaret Klein stood first, her pearl necklace catching the stage light. "Second." Paul Delgado rose immediately after her. "Second." 3 more board members followed in rapid succession. The chain locked, the voting portal went live. Green signaled approval. Red signaled rejection. The outcome was already written. Percentages climbed in real time across the massive screen glowing against the dimmed house lights. Lauren burst from the wings, her heels skidding as she rushed forward. "This is insane. You cannot hold a meeting in the middle of." Harold lifted one hand. "Calm. absolute. The chair recognizes only registered voters at this time. Lauren froze mid-step, her mouth still open, the realization hitting her all at once. No one was listening. From the side aisle, Evan tried next, his voice cracking. "Avery, come on. We are family. You are really doing this here, right now." I did not look at him. I watched the numbers instead. 58% green, 61, 64. Small shareholders, warehouse managers who had earned fractional equity over decades, mid-level engineers who had chosen stock instead of raises tapped yes without hesitation. They remembered who had fought to protect their bonuses when Lauren wanted to slash costs. They remembered who had personally rewritten the disaster recovery systems after the flood threat years earlier. 67%. Long-term institutional investors followed without pause. They had watched me turn down impressive titles in exchange for deeper ownership year after year. Their votes locked in within seconds. 69%. Lauren tried again, louder now, desperation seeping through her voice. "Harold, shut this down. She is bluffing." Harold did not move. 70% reached. Motion threshold met. 71% snapped into place and held. Solid green across the entire screen. Harold turned to the room. "The motion carries under majority shareholder authority. Appointments are rescinded. All executive privileges are revoked. This meeting is adjourned." The final tally remained illuminated for 5 long seconds, searing itself into every retina in the ballroom. A collective breath released all at once. Someone dropped a fork. The sharp clatter echoed like gunfire in the sudden silence. Lauren stared at the numbers as if sheer willpower might force them to change. Her lips moved but no sound followed. Evan's phone slipped from his fingers and struck the marble floor with a sharp crack that echoed beneath the chandeliers. I closed the laptop with a soft snap. When the final hands lowered and the result locked across the screen, Harold Weinstein's voice cut through the stunned silence with surgical precision. "The motion is adopted unanimously. Lauren Hale and Evan Hale are hereby relieved of all executive duties and titles effective immediately upon adjournment." The words settled heavily in the air. Final, unavoidable. Lauren lunged forward from the edge of the stage, her heels scraping against polished wood. "You cannot do this. This is my company. Our family legacy." I did not raise my voice. I rotated the laptop toward the projector and advanced to the next slide with deliberate calm. The massive display behind us shifted, bathing the ballroom in cold blue light. "I already have. And to ensure a smooth transition, additional measures are now in effect." The screen filled with a pre-signed addendum, prepared at dawn, every line reviewed and approved by outside counsel. It detailed the immediate activation of a 10-year non-compete clause prohibiting both of them from any role within the food supply chain, software industry, or any related field nationwide. No consulting roles, no competitor board seats, no quiet advisory calls to clients we had built together. Below that, in bold text, came the next consequence. Immediate forfeiture of all previously granted golden shares, along with permanent revocation of all future dividend rights tied to their former executive compensation packages. Those shares were never just paper. They were the safety net Lauren had cashed in for her weekend escapes and luxury retreats. They were the buffer Evan relied on to bankroll his vintage car obsession. All of it vanished in a single decision. Lauren's eyes moved across the text, one line at a time. Her lips parted as the meaning finally landed. Color drained from her face until she looked almost translucent beneath the stage lights. Evan, standing just behind her, gripped the edge of the podium. His skin took on a sickly gray tone. He looked moments away from being physically ill, right there on the Persian rug. "Security," I said quietly into the lapel microphone, my voice even almost bored. 4 guards emerged from the wings at once, moving with the calm precision of men trained for exactly this kind of corporate theater. 2 positioned themselves beside Lauren, taking her gently but firmly by the elbows like escorts at a formal event that had gone catastrophically wrong. The other 2 mirrored the motion with Evan. One hand light on his shoulder, the other steady at his back. My sister twisted against their hold, her blazer riding up as her voice climbed in pitch. "Dad, Mom, do something. Tell them to stop." My father stood beside my mother near the front row, rooted in place. His hands were clasped so tightly the knuckles showed white against his silver wedding band. His eyes remained fixed on the carpet, tracing its intricate pattern as if it might reveal an answer he had missed for decades. My mother's face was streaked with smeared mascara and trembling lips, but she did not move. She did not speak. She did not reach for her phone. Their combined 8% stake, once a comfortable cushion for retirement plans and weekend escapes, meant nothing in this room now. No vote to cast, no voice to raise, no leverage left to challenge the momentum I had built, contract by contract, filing by notarized filing. Lauren's voice broke completely as the guards guided her toward the service corridor off stage, the narrow passage lined with emergency lights and abandoned coat racks. "Avery, please. We are sisters. Blood sisters. You cannot just erase us like this." I met her eyes for the first time that night and held her gaze without blinking. "Blood does not override contracts. And tonight you signed the one that ends this chapter." Evan was already halfway down the steps, his shoulders hunched, trembling under the steady pressure of the guard at his back. He did not resist the way Lauren had. He did not argue. He simply stumbled forward, head lowered, the fight draining out of him with every step. The corridor doors closed behind them with the same soft, echoing thud they had made when I walked out 3 hours earlier. Only this time there was no return. The room remained frozen for 5 long seconds. The kind of silence where you can hear your own heartbeat beneath the steady hum of the air conditioning. A single cough from the back row shattered it. Then Harold Weinstein cleared his throat into the microphone, his voice steady, practiced, unchanged. "This emergency meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for your attention and cooperation this evening. Dessert service will resume shortly." I closed the laptop with a quiet snap. The screen went dark. The projector powered down with a low hum. I gathered my things and stepped off the stage, passing the velvet ropes and the faces of partners who had once shaken Lauren's hand as if she owned the future. Now they nodded to me instead. Subtle shifts in loyalty written in lowered eyes and murmured congratulations. My mother finally moved, taking a single step toward the service corridor. My father's hand closed around her arm and stopped her. They remained there together, silent observers to the end of an era they had started but never truly controlled. Outside, the Kansas City night air felt cool against my skin as I slid into the waiting car. The driver asked no questions. He pulled away from the hotel curb headlights, cutting through the light drizzle that had begun sometime during the vote. 4 months later, everything looked different. The new nameplate on my office door was simple brushed steel. Avery Collins Hale, Chairwoman and Chief Executive Officer. There was no announcement, no company-wide email. The next morning the building opened like any other day, except every decision now passed through my desk. First quarter results came in 28% above forecast. The restructuring I had planned for years rolled out without resistance. The warehouse automation contracts Lauren had stalled for 18 months were finalized in 9 days. Clients who had been undecided called back on their own. Stability sells. Lauren listed the Lake Lotana house 3 weeks after the gala. The 6-bedroom lakefront property with its infinity pool and private dock sat on the market for 47 days before a cash buyer from Dallas claimed it without negotiation. She needed every dollar. The accelerated inheritance tax bill hit the moment her golden shares were clawed back. The tax authorities do not wait for family drama to resolve itself. Evans sent out 211 resumes over 11 months. Every interview followed the same pattern. Polite smiles, professional nods, then silence. The non-compete agreement was airtight and part of the public record. No company in food supply software would touch him. He eventually accepted a part-time sales position at a car dealership in Blue Springs, wearing the same worn blazer he had on the night everything collapsed. My father listed the Leawood house in October. My mother refused to remain in Kansas City once the gala photographs flooded the local society pages. They closed on a 2-bedroom condominium in Naples overlooking the Gulf. The moving trucks arrived on a Tuesday. I learned the same way everyone else did. The listing went live. There was no farewell dinner, no phone call, only a forwarded change of address notice from the Postal Service. The first message from Lauren arrived 2 weeks after the vote. 1 line, an apology she erased before sending. The second came a month later. Longer, explanatory, desperate. Deleted as well. Evan tried next. A voicemail just over 3 minutes long. His voice cracked as he asked for a reference. I discarded it without listening again. My mother mailed a handwritten birthday card in November asking if we could talk. It went into the shredder unopened. I never responded. Not once. Power is not inherited. It is not handed out at galas alongside champagne and applause. It is built share by share, contract by contract. Over 16 years of choosing ownership instead of approval. I never wanted the stage. I wanted the foundation. And foundations do not apologize when the house finally collapses. Some families fracture quietly. Ours fell apart in front of 250 witnesses beneath crystal chandeliers while security guarded the exits. That night taught me the only lesson that matters. Blood may share a last name, it does not share a vote. And votes are the only thing that ever counted.